What life lesson did you learn that you will never forget, and when did you learn it? My dad taught me as a teenager that relationships should be easy. Biggest and best lesson I've ever learned. Relationships should not be filled with drama but with friendship and respect. Really helped me choose who to be with. Now I teach my daughters the same thing, so maybe they can prevent being in a painful relationship. If you're right but you're obnoxious about it, people won't see you as the good guy. Took me until the end of grad school to figure that one out. My best friend passed away a few years ago and I learned 2 life lessons. Never keep people in your life if they don't love and respect you as much as you do them. Never take for granted the time you spend with the people you keep. It could be over any day. You don't like everybody, so don't worry about everybody liking you. Of course, be respectful to everyone you meet, but don't bend over backwards to please all of them. You don't ever truly know another person, unless you can take up residence in their head. You'll never be privy to their true nature. Learn this through the process of growing up and losing friends, so it's not always malicious. Sometimes you latch onto the idea of a person rather than who they are. It'll eventually drive you apart as you realize that there is incongruity between who they are and who you think they are. Not everybody who speaks in a pleasant way to you is your friend. Don't say dumb shit on the internet. Still working on it. You'll never be able to please everyone, so don't make your life revolve around being accepted by everyone. You can delegate authority, you can't delegate responsibility. Been a mantra my mom has spoken since I was a kid. I learned this one as a young man. I was a maintenance supervisor at a resort and every week we had to shut down a floor of each building in the winter time to do repairs and refurbishment on all the condo units. One employee complained that he got stuck with painting all the time, so I told him if he was comfortable replacing the hot water heaters that week, he could do that job. So I was focused on all the logistics and normal operations and let him do his thing. The day before everything was to be inspected and put back into service, I discovered that the employee had 4 more water heaters to replace and he had not put all the previous units' cabinetry back together. The heaters were hidden under the countertop in the kitchen. We had to pay thousands of dollars to a plumbing company to come in and finish the job because there was no way to get it all done in time. My boss in the home office was furious and asked how this happened when we were doing all the other floors on time. I tried to explain that the employee effed up and didn't tell anyone in time, but my boss explained to me that it's my job to make sure they did their job and not make excuses. I was pissed, but after I cooled off, I realized he was right. You can assign tasks and projects to others, but ultimately you have to be responsible for the overall outcome. One time I got a flat tire and it was raining. I kept turning right to remove the tire and a guy in a bike stopped and just said lefty loosey righty tighty and just left. I never forgot it. It's not life changing, but it has helped me a lot in life. Everyone is facing a battle you know nothing about. I was 21 when I learned that just because you've been friends with someone a long time does not mean you're obligated to stay friends with them forever. If you're at the point where you dread being around them, leave. No amount of history is worth your peace. Not everyone at work is and wants to be your friend. Some just pretend and then F you over. Learned that doing my apprenticeship and found the same shit in almost every other company I worked for so far. It is better to be alone than to be surrounded by those that hate you. Lesson I learned, though I would rather ignore it, but it might help someone else. Don't become a walking charity. When I was in my early to mid 20s, I had a lot of friends who were falling on hard times or needed various types of help, and I was only too happy to help. I had the money, I had the time, I would do anything for them. Not one of them repaid financially, or otherwise. Instead, I was just taken advantage of, left, right and center. It all ended when I suggested a friend of mine who broke up with their partner and had no place to live come stay with me. Next thing I knew, they were inviting their friends over all the time, often without my permission. They weren't contributing a penny to the income of the household. Their new partner soon moved in, and my house basically became a DOS house, and they became a mean-spirited, emotionally abusive a-hole who made my life miserable in my own home. Now, I offer advice only. If you need financial support, you can go to the council. If you need housing, you can go to the council. If you want me to provide either of those things, you can bugger off. When I was about 9 years old, I used to bully a lad in my class. I felt like a tough guy because he was bigger than me. I bullied him because he came from a poor family, but I'd always had a wealthy family until I was around 9 years old. My dad's alcoholism escalated and cost him his job and destroyed our family. I bullied that lad out of anger because of what I was going through, and then one day he beat the shit out of me. Our head teacher, principal, made us sit outside his office for a whole day together. Just the two of us. I quickly realized how much I upset him and we became friends. Most people's moral integrity isn't nearly as bulletproof as they believe it is, and often, through no fault of their own. We all have certain vulnerabilities that can make us do or say things we had previously thought were below us, whether it be trauma, desperation, loneliness, etc. Never refuse when someone offers you a breath mint. My grandfather, after I declined a breath mint from him. Time is the most valuable resource on the planet. That my mental illness disorder is not my fault, but it is my responsibility to maintain. When I was in high school, my mom and I took a day to go church shopping in a new part of town. We must have gone to 5 services that day. Some were fun and lively, some were quiet and reserved, but one in particular really stuck out to me for being so kooky. It was October, and the preacher was starting his sermon to the room of 40 people with Halloween is right around the corner. Who here celebrates Halloween? I was the only person to raise my hand. The preacher goes, good, because Halloween is celebrating the devil, and we don't do that here. At this point, I quickly drop my hand as people give me weird looks. My mom then goes, by the way, it's not a good idea to volunteer information to a group of people you don't know. I learned that I need to wait until I understand at least the basic dynamics of a group before sharing anything about myself. In these cases especially, it's better to be quiet and anonymous than to stand out and be a target. We never ended up going back to any of the churches we saw that day, though. Always make time for loved ones. Time is not on your side. I learned this too late. After my grandma died, I was always working or studying and said, next week I am going to visit grandma. Next week I'll give her a call. Next week. I saw her at the family gatherings like birthdays and such if I was able to make them, but that's still different than going by her house and spend time together. The moments I did that, it was nice and we laughed, so there wasn't a reason to not visit grandma. Always sweet, and even when I was in the 30s she gave me a bag of candy when I left. One year I was too busy, read selfish, and hadn't visited for months. I wasn't aware it has been months. That was after I checked how long ago it was. September was the last visit and in December she passed away. I couldn't make time for 3 months. Not a single day I could spare a few hours to visit cause career and I'll go next week. This is more than 10 years ago and it still haunts me at times. She was always understanding and be like, yeah, I know you youngsters are busy and need to work hard and don't have it as easy as we. Even though she went through World War II and needed to walk 2 provinces for food, she considered that they had the easy life. I always thought I had enough time when I was done with insert something here, but always something else turned up. Next week I'll go was the worst thing I had told myself, and I wished I spent way more time with grandma. It made me change everything. I now only work 3 days a week and spend the rest of the time on my family and friends. Make sure to give regular calls and make sure I can be at whatever is needed. Sure, working 5 days a week and having more money for fun is nice, but a bigger car or a bigger house or another vacation does not bring back time. Do I need a Range Rover 4x4 that costs 8 times the price of a Ford Fiesta? No. Do I need a house with 8 bedrooms? No. Do I need time? Yes. Time is all I wanted. Time is what we get in limited quantity. You can try and make changes in spending less or make more money, but you can't make more time. There is 24 hours in a day. Spend them wisely and don't think others have the same time left as you. The biggest lie I told myself was that I didn't have the time. I had the time. I just managed it badly. My grandma was 89, so she was on borrowed time, but it could as well be my wife who I take out for dinner next week but gets ill or an accident. You don't know what it is you have until it's gone. Listen to your body. For years, I pushed myself to my physical limits. I went without sleep, skipped meals, stress ate, often had emotional breakdowns, etc. You know what eventually happened? Multiple mental illnesses, emotional disorders, unexplained chronic pain, unexplained neurological failures. My body literally started shutting down to slow me down and force some self-care. It's taken years of prioritizing my health, and I'm still struggling with lesser remainders of those issues. Take it from me, please, please, please listen to your body. When your body mind is tired, rest. When you're hungry, eat intuitively. When you are stressed, find an effective way to decompress. Journal, go on a walk, talk it out with a person you trust, exercise, etc. When you already have too much on your plate, say no. I know it can be easier said than done, but it's a worthwhile investment in yourself. You are worth it. The world is not changed by your opinion, it is changed by your example. A shoe that pinches will always hurt you. Essentially meaning don't revisit past relationships. You can be the most competent, hardest working, most dedicated employee in a company, but the promotions are most likely to go to the people who have made a personal connection with the boss. I learned that at my first job, and it's been true ever since. It's why I'll never homeschool my kids. I could give them a much better academic background, but the interpersonal skills they develop in school will benefit them more. Relationships are like a fart. If you have to force it, it's probably